The following program, Live and Learn, is made possible by Aging Partners. Find out more on their website.
Hi everybody, welcome to Live and Learn. My name's Kim Hachiya. Stay tuned for a really interesting conversation about one of Lincoln's powerful agencies, CenterPointe.
Hi everyone. Grief can be a very difficult journey. Joining us today is the Executive Director of Mourning Hope Grief Center. Carly is here to tell us so many things about grief, and we hope you will find this segment of value. Stay tuned.
Hearing loss is often considered a part of aging, but there are many reasons why you might have hearing loss. Stay tuned for information on how you can have your hearing tested, what the alternatives are, and how that can improve your communication with your family and friends.
Hello everyone and welcome to Live and Learn. I'm your host, Jerry Renaud. We're going to have a little fun on this show. We're going to play a few Christmas songs, some original songs, and a couple of standards. I hope you enjoy it. Stick around.
This and more on today's Live and Learn.
Hi everybody, welcome to Live and Learn. My name's Kim Hachiya. You know, I'd like to once again thank our friends at LNK TV and at Aging Partners for producing and helping deliver the show. It's a real pleasure to work with so many professional people here. You know, my guest today is Topher Hansen. He is the president and CEO of CenterPointe, which is a substantial and important agency here in Lincoln. And in full disclosure, I have known Topher since 7th grade at Pound Junior High, and we're kind of neighbors, so we do know each other. So I just wanted people to know that we're not just like flying in the dark here. So anyway, So welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. So tell me, give me the elevator speech of what CenterPointe is, what you do, and kind of who you serve.
So CenterPointe's a healthcare organization, and in the olden days, we thought of healthcare as going to the primary care doc and doing things that were below the neck, and not so much mental illness and addiction, which are above the neck. But really, healthcare starts at the top of our head and goes to the bottom of our toes. And so we are a healthcare organization, and we do a bunch of those things. So we do mental health and substance, which we have for decades, since 1973. But we also do primary care services now. So people could come in and seek our primary care service without being connected to anything else. And so we really take care of whole people and have a whole healthcare organization. In addition to that, we do some ancillary things. What we learned long ago was people don't get better from addiction and untreated mental illness on the streets, and that housing becomes an important piece of that. So we started housing, and housing first is the model. Like it's sort of what Maslow told us about, which is first you have to get the basic needs met, and then you can start taking steps towards self-actualization. So we started housing programs in 1990 was our first grant, and today we run about 215 units of supported housing in the community. That we own about a half a dozen buildings, but then we work with about 45 landlords in the community who lease to the person. We subsidize the rent and provide a care manager. So we have a number of ancillary services. All told, between Lincoln and Omaha, we run over 40 different programs.
Wow, that's amazing. And that seems to me kind of an interesting sort of wraparound approach to approach mental health and substance abuse, not from a punitive angle, which I think is what mainly maybe it was 50 years ago, but more from a connected care angle. I know from like looking at your website, you work a lot, collaborate with a lot of agencies in town, including like Lincoln Police Department and stuff. So talk about that. How have those collaborations started?
So let me back up a step and say the whole person care is important, and so I use the metaphor of automobiles, and so if somebody comes in with 4 flat tires, our job is to fix all 4 tires and to help them with good tire care and send them down the road. If we fix 1 or 2 or 3, it's not going to happen. And so we really go with all 4. But also in relation to your comment about the punitive, using language is really important, and so we've really changed our lexicon to what we think is more of a specific scientific language that's also strength-based and positive in the approach. So, for instance, we don't say substance abuse because what that implies is that the person was beating up on the substances somehow. And what anybody who's had that problem would tell you is they beat the crap out of them, the substances that is, for years before they were really able to get a grip on it. But also, we don't refer to people as clients or consumers or patients. We call them people. And so it's a person in service, an individual in service, people in services. So we use people names in an attempt to make it more accessible and feel a little less of the power differential. There's always a power differential between those serving and those being served. But we try to lessen that and have it be really accessible for the people who sometimes are cynical about the care that's in the community and what they can get. And so we try to make that really friendly and open and accessible in ways that people want to come in. So the other important piece is the collaboration in the community. Nobody gets this done by themselves. There's too much to it to have one organization solve the problem. So it really takes a community to come together to do it. And it can be like our partnership with the city and with Lincoln Police Department or other agencies in Lincoln where we work together. When we opened our new building at 12th and South Street, the whole theme of that was partnerships. And so we had our national partners there. We had our state, county, city, and funding partners who were all there because without them, it's not happening.
Right.
And so it really takes all of us to join in. So we also have relationships with churches in Lincoln who have social action efforts that coincide with what we're doing. And so that becomes more people aware, more people who are identifying people who are struggling with mental health or substance issues who need help, and begins to get the word out and move people towards services. And just this year, so we count the number of people that we serve each month. And in January of 2024, we crossed the 1,500 mark for the third time, 2 times in 23, but for the third time in January of 24. By July, we were at 2,200. So in that period of time, that many more people came in our front door. And the place that that's happening is our Campus for Health and Wellbeing, which is at 12th and South Street, because that's where outpatient is. And other programs are residential, and so the number of beds is the number of beds. But outpatient is where you can increase the services. And so we saw 700 more people come in the door as a result of just having our doors open.
Right. And also I'm sure outreach and people finding out about you and word of mouth, somebody saying, hey, this happened.
Right.
I had this great experience here, and somebody else saying, maybe I should try that. That's
And we've expanded our programming to having a youth and family crisis center. We received that grant. We also have what we call alternative response with street outreach and attending to people who are on the street, and somebody may call in to 911 or police non-emergency and say, hey, you may need to go look at this person. If there's no law violation or danger in the arena right there with that person, then they'll dispatch our street outreach team to that location. And so in the first year, we did about 1,000 of those. So we've just added on all these things that have increased the numbers dramatically.
So as part of that, on the part of your staff and you and other people in the community, I don't want to say looking for a problem to solve, but it's kind of that way. I mean, you think about like the street outreach thing. everybody kind of knows that there's this sort of population of people on the street that are doing fine, but maybe, but they're slightly functioning, but they're not, the guy who sits on the corner at 70th and A every day that everybody calls in on, that's kind of his lifestyle, and it may be very different from our lifestyle, but he's not, I don't know, he hasn't tippled into an area that's really dangerous for him or somebody else, but it's just knowing him and knowing his name, I think, is important.
Yeah.
And having a touch base with that.
So there's a distinction with some people who are identified as being homeless. Some people live in apartments and go out and panhandle in places like 70th and A.
Yeah.
I don't know if that gentleman is or not, but that happens in the community. There are people who are on the street who actually live someplace and they go home at night.
Mm-hmm.
There are other people who are literally living on the street and probably have untreated mental health and
Right.
substance issues
Right.
and are just devastated by this illness. So it is a powerful illness that will take somebody to that point and kill them.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to deteriorate their whole system.
Right.
So there are some differences, and what we recognized is that we needed to respond to those people. Like I said, they're not getting better on the street, and so for us to be able to attend to them is important. We've had street outreach for quite a number of years, but have gotten other money from the city to help expand our team. So we have 6 full-time outreach workers, and one for at least is dedicated to just downtown.
Yeah.
And then others go to the encampments, under the bridges, the soup kitchens, the places like that where they're going to find people.
Right.
And our job is to get to know them and then begin to motivate them towards getting care.
Right.
And we do that. We actually then convince some people that it's going to be okay, and that what they can do is get housing, because housing first, and then begin to take steps towards getting treatment and getting better. Our alternative response, we've housed quite a number of people who we have gone out because of the calls to 911 or non-emergency. And so it's an effective way to contact people and then begin that relationship that motivates them towards saying yes, because we can't force them into care,
Right.
to saying yes to coming into housing and then starting to get services.
I know you and I had a conversation. You said that giving people just a little shred of hope is kind of that first step. And
Always.
And by somebody reaching out and in a caring way versus a what in the heck are you doing way.
Judgmental.
Yeah, that offers sort of hope and the idea of that there is a different way.
Right.
That's maybe a better way for them. So
And the other element with that is dignity.
yes.
So expressing caring and concern begins to show that they're dignified and worthy of that. And I say when you have zero hope, no scintilla of evidence that you're going to get better, then the best you can do is just have faith in the fact that it's going to happen one day, or be hopeless. And when you get that evidence that maybe things can change, that's when the first signs of hope start to come into somebody, and they start to get more motivated around that.
Yeah, that's really great. Well, congratulations on really your leadership of this organization that has just grown over 50 years into just really a really powerful, important agency in the city of Lincoln.
Thanks.
I admire you for doing that. 'Cause that's-
Anybody in my position would tell you it's the team.
Yeah.
We have a very powerful team of
Yeah.
great people who
Yeah.
get it done, and I just happen to be the orchestra leader.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I don't play any of the instruments.
But you've done a great job. So
Well,
anyway.
thanks, Kim.
But we're out of time, and I really thank you for being here today. This has been great, and I just hope more people understand what the agency does and really learn more about it and
Yeah, we're on the internet, so look us up.
look us up. So anyway, and I want to thank you again and also remind our viewers that it's never too late to live and learn.
So, I'm playing with the dog, and I get this robocall from the Social Security Administration saying my card had been suspended and I had to call them back immediately. And that's when I remembered a tip from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Random robocall? This is a Social Security scam.
Recognize fraud sooner,
Robots.
so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Hi everyone, welcome to Live and Learn. I'm Julie Masters. It is a great pleasure to have the Executive Director of Mourning Hope Grief Center with us today. Joining us is Carly. Carly, welcome to Live and Learn.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here today.
Oh, you're very welcome. Carly, you have a beautiful last name, and out of respect to your relatives and your ancestors, I'm going to let you say your name, please.
Yeah, it's a challenging last name. It's Woythaler-Runestad. So I always just say Carly, and that is sufficient.
Well, it's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
And again, welcome to Live and Learn.
Thanks. It's lovely to be here.
Thank you. Carly, Mourning Hope is a center that offers grief support. And I think for our viewers, some of them may have driven by your location, some may have heard about it. But could you tell us a little bit about your program, what you offer, and who you serve?
Sure,
Thank
I'd
you.
love to. I'm always happy to talk about Mourning Hope. So for those who aren't familiar, Mourning Hope is a grief support network for children, teens, young adults, their caregivers, and really through the full age spectrum after they've experienced the serious illness or death of someone in their life. And we typically work with kids starting about age 4 and all the way through young adults and all the way through adults at this time. We have a plethora of different programs and services, from our 10-week groups to suicide-specific programming to adult programming, one-day special events, overnight camps, camps for kids, camps for families. We also have individual counseling. So just lots of different ways to try to address grief. And families can seek our services whether they have had a parent die, whether it's been a sibling, a grandparent, an aunt and uncle, a spouse, even a close friend. But our ultimate goal with Mourning Hope is making sure that no one grieves alone.
You know, I think it's powerful when you mention the different offerings, whether it was death by suicide or it could have been because of a long-term illness or whatever. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Is it?
It's never a one-size-fits-all. Grief is not a one-size-fits-all.
Well said. It's very individualized. So, Carly, I had a chance to learn a little bit about your background, but I wonder for our viewers, could you tell us how you got involved with Mourning Hope, and how does your background prepare you to be the executive director?
Yeah. Well, I have kind of a diverse background. I started as a music therapist in long-term care, actually. And I enjoyed that, I loved that, but I went on to actually do some lobbying work and some advocacy work for about 85 different Nebraska hospitals, and and so then to shift over into a grief center felt like a little bit of a jump, and yet I also think that that diversity of that background it was in healthcare and it was in support, and through all of that I think that common thread is wanting to take care of people and support people, and at Mourning Hope we have an opportunity to do that each and every day, and we get to do that during some of the darkest days of their lives, and offer them hope and see that improvement. So I've actually been there for 16 years. I can't believe that I'm saying that at this point, but it now feels like home. It feels like a passion for me at this point.
Isn't that beautiful to say? It feels like home.
Yeah. I know how lucky I am to have that opportunity every day.
Sure. So, Carly, why was Mourning Hope established? Was there a particular need that the founders thought, we need to do something?
Yeah, so Mourning Hope was actually established by 2 middle school counselors. And they were in the LPS school system. They were having kids come to them every day, and they didn't really have anywhere to refer them. It might be a child who had experienced the death of their grandparent or their sibling and they were struggling. And oftentimes we see when kids have a death loss, we start to see problems in the classroom. We start to see them disconnect. We see their grades plummet. And so they were really looking for a way that they could support these kiddos. And so they went out and did some searches across the country and found similar programs that were starting at that time. And of course, this was 30 years ago. Mourning Hope, we celebrated our 30th anniversary last month. So in 1994, they were out looking at other programs and trying to piece it together and see what was good for our community. And they came back and they started this program, and it started with just middle school kiddos. And then it expanded into elementary, and then it expanded into teens and young adults and families. And recently, we've really expanded into adult programming as well. So, but that's kind of where that grew out of, or drove out of. And one other thing I guess I would just mention is when we had that program that first year, we started with 9 kids. There was 9 kids served in 1994, and last year we served just under 1,800 distinct individuals last year.
That is extraordinary when you think about the growth and just all the people that have been able to benefit. Carly, I know you offer support groups.
Mm-hmm.
Do you serve certain ages, or are they open to all ages? Could you tell us a little bit?
Yeah, they are open to all ages.
Okay.
And as I was just kind of sharing, we started working with children. That was kind of the primary focus, but I think the longer we've been in the community, the more we know that there is a need for older adults as well. And we were having individuals call us a couple of years ago and saying, I need grief support, and the only way they could really access our program at that time was if they had a child that they were also bringing through the program. And so our board talked about it at length, and we did a shift there and started to serve adults as well. And actually now it's about 50% adult programming that we offer at Mourning Hope. So especially for your listeners, it's a place where they can access grief support as well. But I think people have traditionally thought about Mourning Hope as a children's grief center, and we've really expanded that in the last few years.
Well, that takes courage on the part of your board to agree to let's do something a little outside of the box, and yet, boy, how many people are able to benefit?
Yeah.
I know that you offer some unique opportunities with Mourning Hope, and I'm wondering if you'd be willing to share a little bit about what some of the more unique services or programming you provide.
Yeah. Well, our core program is actually a 10-week family grief series, so the families come once a week for 10 weeks. And that has been around since the very start. The kids go through a program at the same time as the adults go through a program. And we say caregivers because sometimes it's the parent, oftentimes it's a grandparent that is bringing their grandchild. Sometimes it's a foster parent. And that focus is on giving those caregivers the information and the tools that they need to support their child that is grieving. So it's very educational driven. So that's kind of our core program, but then you used the word unique, and so my brain immediately thinks about Camp Erin, where we go out to Carol Joy Holling, and we had 63 kids out there zip lining and doing campfires and enjoying life, but all together also knowing that each child in there had experienced a serious death in their life. And so that would be a unique program. We do family camp down at the Lead Lodge, and that's a great place for families to engage. I had mentioned the suicide programming. We have holiday programming where we have one-day holiday events to help people get through the difficult holiday season. That is creeping up upon us, and that is a challenging time for many people that are grieving.
Absolutely, it is. I think when you think about Mourning Hope and the work that you've done, is there anything that has surprised you about it?
Grief is so unique. I think that is the piece that has really struck me. I think our society kind of teaches us that there's this orderly, predictable stages that we should go through when we're grieving, and it's so not a linear timeline. We have such unique approaches based on our relationship with those individuals and our gender and our age and our support systems, and so I think really recognizing that we're all on these different journeys and that we just have to show up for people and support them where they're at has been one of the most surprising things. And then I guess also just that we just don't ever get over grief. I wish that were not the case, but there's this idea, I think, again, that we should be over it at a certain time, especially because of bereavement leaves and so many things that are out there. And but we don't ever get over it. We learn to integrate it into our lives. We learn to live with it. It becomes less raw and less acute, but it's a lifelong journey.
Carly, I wish everyone could have the opportunity to meet you because of your perspective on grief. That, again, you don't get over it, you learn to live with it. So we have so many wonderful viewers that are loyal viewers, watchers, I'm going to use that word again if I could, of Live and Learn. And sometimes they'd like to know, how can I get involved? And so how could our viewers get involved with Mourning Hope? What would you suggest?
Sure. I love it when people ask how they can get involved. So, you know, there's lots of options. We are a very small staff. There's actually only 7 of us on staff, and we're serving 1,800 people. And so when we think about that, we need volunteers. We have over 200 volunteers at Mourning Hope, and that may be from making comfort pillows for our kids to being grief facilitators to being food hosts to quilting. Like, there's so many options for them to get involved with volunteering. And so if they're interested, they can reach out or go to our website and find an application there. I would also say donations. We're a nonprofit. We function on donations. We have for 30 years. There's no cost to any of our programs and services at Mourning Hope. So no matter how they reach our system or whatever services they take in, there's no cost for them. And that's because of all the amazing generosity of our community. And then I guess the third way I would just say is just to be aware, to raise that awareness. So oftentimes, when I go out and do a presentation, at the end of it, someone comes up and says, I wish I'd known about you when my husband died. And so if you know someone that's grieving, tell them about Mourning Hope, have them reach out. So we also can help them find services, even if it's not in Lincoln, but across the country.
Carly, we are just so grateful that you would spend a little time with us today to tell us about Mourning Hope, an amazing program. So grateful to you and your staff for the good work that you do, and also to your volunteers. So thank you very much. And to our listeners, remember, it's never too late to live and learn.
I was doing some shopping and got a pop-up on my laptop. Computer had a virus. So I called the number on the page, and the guy on the phone wants to take control of my screen to sort it out. Then I remember a tip I got from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Control my screen. This is a tech support scam. Thankfully, my order still went through.
Recognize fraud sooner so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Welcome to Live and Learn. Hearing loss is often associated with old age, but it can occur at any age, including with infants. I'm Doug Jose, host of Live and Learn, and with me today is Erin Kruse, a doctor of audiology. And first of all, Erin, welcome to the program, and tell us a little bit about your qualifications, Doctor of Audiology, compared to other medical degrees.
Sure, yeah. I often find when I tell people I'm an audiologist, they have no idea what an audiologist even does. So first of all, an audiologist diagnoses, treats, and prevents hearing as well as vestibular disorders. And this is different from just your medical doctor, who I think a lot of people know what a medical doctor does and how long it takes to go to school to be a physician, because they can treat and diagnose the entire human body. An audiologist, so I have a degree in undergrad of communication disorders, so a bachelor degree, but then I continued on to get my doctorate degree in audiology. It's a clinical doctorate, so I had to go to school for 8 years to do what I'm doing today.
Okay.
And that allows me, again, to treat not only hearing disorders, but also vestibular disorders. So not to get more confusing, but there's also a subpopulation of hearing healthcare professionals called hearing instrument specialists or hearing aid dispensers, which people might hear of also. And the way we differ between a hearing aid dispenser and an audiologist is really our scope of practice and also our training. So an 8-year degree for an audiologist allows us to do significantly more testing and treat more disorders, and we can do more than just fit hearing aids, which a hearing aid dispenser is going to focus primarily on that hearing aid fitting. And their training is typically, at least according to the DHHS website in the state of Nebraska, is to be 21, pass a practical and written exam, and then meet the qualifications of that application process. So audiologists can also work in a much wider variety of settings. So I've focused on the medical field. I worked in ENT my entire career, but audiologists can also work in academia. We can work in educational settings, in pediatric settings, private practices, industry, you name it. There's a huge wide array.
I mentioned in the intro that there's sort of a stigma associated with hearing loss being with old age, but there are many reasons for hearing loss. Give us a little summary of what the situation is with hearing loss.
Sure, yeah. So hearing loss can actually be congenital or acquired. A congenital hearing loss is probably going to show up at birth or in young age, whereas acquired could be due to exposure to loud noise. Hearing loss could occur because of an illness, medication use, or just the aging process. I find that the stigma of wearing hearing aids is lessening. The patient population is getting younger as far as when they're coming in to actually do something about difficulty hearing. But sometimes I still get that comment a lot of, oh, I just can't hear because I'm old, or I must be old, I don't have good hearing, I must be old. But at the core of what hearing loss is, it's a sensory deprivation, very similar to what vision loss is. And when people have difficulty seeing, they don't have any problem going to the eye doctor to get a correction for their vision. So I want people to really think about, if you're struggling to hear, we can help you with that. And it doesn't matter what your age is. Even children can have difficulty hearing, and we want to help all people to be able to hear better.
Now, are there other symptoms other than the fact that, of hearing loss, other than the fact that maybe you can't communicate real clearly with your family or people around you?
Yeah, the obvious symptoms, of course, are I'm asking people to repeat, I can't hear quite as well, but there can be also more subtle symptoms of hearing loss. The one I hear the most is people tell me, I can hear just fine, I just don't understand as well as I used to. People are mumbling, I'm not hearing them clearly. Those can also be signs of hearing loss. Other physical signs are a presence of aural fullness or pressure in the ears, ringing or buzzing called tinnitus. Those can also be signs of hearing loss as well.
Let's then get into testing. Then what is involved when you decide that you need to have a hearing test?
Yeah. So if you come to our office for a hearing test, the very first thing we're going to do is take a case history. We want to know what your concerns are, take a little bit of a medical history to know if there's any pertinent information related to your hearing or your ears. And then, of course, we're going to take a peek in your ears. That's called otoscopy. And we're just checking for any outer ear abnormalities, making sure there's not any wax or debris that would impede or impact our ability to do the hearing test. And then beyond that, for the patient to be able to participate, the next step would be what we call pure tone testing. And that's, you hear the beep, you raise your hand, push the button. And there's two ways to do that, via air conduction and bone conduction. So headphones either in or over the ears, and then the bone conduction is a little box behind your ear. That test really helps us to determine the degree and type of hearing loss. And then we also do some speech testing, and this is really important that the speech testing is done because it lets us know that when we provide an adequate signal to the system, how is your brain interpreting the information that we're giving you? Because that can also change or help us in recommending certain devices to patients.
So once it's determined that some assistance is needed, give us a little summary of what the alternatives are. I mean, there are many different devices available.
Right. There are many different devices available. And when you're doing your research into hearing aids, hearing loss, I think it's almost more important to research the provider you're going to and let them help educate you on what devices are available, what's appropriate, because believe it or not, a hearing aid is not one size fits all. We don't just slap it on the ear and send you out the door. There's a lot that goes into me determining a recommendation for a patient. When I'm recommending a hearing aid, I really take into account the severity of the hearing loss and making sure that I'm providing adequate amplification. Because if it's not even appropriate, then we're sort of wasting our time. So there's lots of different devices that are available, and those recommendations change based on, again, the severity of hearing loss, your ability to understand speech when we played it at that louder volume, but also lifestyle, your goals, if there's any physical limitations. I had a patient who had a severely draining ear. He'd never had success with hearing aids because they just shorted out and stopped working on him, but when I fit him with the appropriate hearing aid, he's been very successful now.
One of the things that you had mentioned when we talked earlier was the fact that improved hearing is not, as I would call it, just the mechanical part of the hearing aid, but you're also training or retraining your brain?
Yeah.
Explain that.
Yeah, so the brain plays a huge part in the hearing process. And so again, that speech testing is really important to know how is the brain interpreting that signal at a louder volume, because if it's very poor and we're just adding distortion to the system, maybe we need to recommend a different device. But for most patients, extra volume does equal extra clarity. And so one of the key parts of the hearing aid fitting process is what we call real ear verification measures. And it's really the gold standard in fitting hearing aids. And in order to do that, we measure the volume of the hearing aid at the level of the ear canal. So obviously your ear canal is a different size and shape than my ear canal, which can change how the hearing aid sounds. So the whole point of a hearing aid is to provide adequate amplification or volume to make sure the brain can even hear the signal. So if we're not even providing adequate amplification, which we can determine with that real ear verification, then we're not doing our job. But what the brain does with that signal beyond that process is sort of out of our control. But the thing that the patient can do the best is to consistently wear the hearing aid or the hearing devices, because the more that you, again, retrain that brain to hear the adequate signal, it's going to do a better job of interpreting that signal.
So once you decide to have some device, how often should people be repeating hearing tests? Is this a once and done, or is it?
Once we've determined that you have hearing loss, we recommend repeating the hearing test about every 2 to 3 years. You know, people think they need an annual hearing evaluation like they need an annual eye exam, but the hearing doesn't change, very rapidly, typically. So we say about every 2 to 3 years we recommend repeating that hearing test just to make sure that the hearing loss isn't progressing. Now I will note that there is sometimes an instance of sudden hearing loss. You go to bed at night and you wake up and you can't hear out of the right ear. In our world, that's an emergency. That's never normal that you wake up and can hear nothing out of your ears. So if you do experience a sudden hearing loss, that is an emergency. Call your physician as soon as possible and explain to them what's happening so that they can help with some treatment or management.
Always good to get to the bottom line. Hearing devices can be pretty expensive.
They are expensive.
Are there alternatives or assistance, say, for seniors who may not be able to afford the best model?
The best of the best, yeah. So there is a wide range of hearing aids as far as cost and features. And they are an investment, so they're not something to be taken lightly. That's why I said it's really important to research the provider that you're going to. Make sure you feel comfortable, because that's really a relationship that you're going to have for the duration of your time wearing the hearing aids. And it's our job to make sure that we set you up for the best success. So there is a wide range of pricing, and even sometimes the lowest prices aren't accessible to some patients. And in those cases, there are programs like the Lions Club and Sertoma Club that are just based on financial needs. And so it's important to have a provider that can help you guide that path. And sometimes you just have to plan financially for those things that maybe you can't do it today, but if you plan and save, maybe it's something you can do down the road. And of course, over-the-counter hearing aids have been a hot topic for several years now. Yeah. I just read an article from the Wall Street Journal, actually, and it was titled "The Revolution That Never Was." And it was all about how over-the-counter hearing aids were meant to give more access to patients to hearing devices at a lower cost. But unfortunately, that hasn't been as successful as they had hoped because they took out the professional, and that's can be a key indicator of success, is making sure we're giving you appropriate amplification, guiding you, counseling you. And so part of the article said that about 30 to 40% of people that get over-the-counter hearing aids return the hearing aids because they weren't as helpful as they had hoped. But I have had patients come to me that had used an over-the-counter hearing aid kind of in the beginning as just kind of an introduction to hearing aids, knowing that in the end they'd probably need something more specific for them. Because the hearing aids we fit are prescription, they're specific to the patient, whereas the over-the-counter ones, you would buy the same hearing aid that I would over the counter.
So it doesn't necessarily fit your particular ear, is that?
It may not fit your ear correctly, it may not also be adequate for your hearing loss. So oftentimes a lot of the over-the-counter hearing aids tend to provide amplification across the whole frequency range. So when we do the hearing test, we are testing 250 hertz all the way to 8,000 hertz. And not all hearing losses are the same, but most commonly patients hear better in the low bass tones, and then maybe they don't hear quite as well in those high squealy pitches. And an over-the-counter hearing aid typically is going to provide the same amplification across all of those frequencies. And as you can imagine, if you make the low bass tones as loud as the high squealy pitches, that may not sound good to you, or vice versa. So sometimes that can be challenging.
Erin, this has been very informational. Thanks for bringing this to us. And the bottom line is, if you think there's a situation where you can be helpful, why you should have a hearing test.
Yeah, don't be afraid. At the end of the day, if you go in for a hearing evaluation, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to have a baseline hearing test. You know where you're starting. And from then, you can either monitor that hearing or you can get the help that you need. So, and I always think that the sooner you do something, the better off you're going to be. A younger brain is going to react better than an older brain.
To get over the stigma of the old age aspect.
You got it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Erin.
Thanks, Doug.
Remember, it's never too late to live and learn and how to improve your hearing.
My kid has been asking for this hot new gaming thing, and I was like, okay, he had a birthday coming up anyway. So I finally find the video game online, in stock. Thing is, it was from this shoddy website full of typos. That's when I remembered a tip I got from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Bogus website, this is a shopping scam. Got us matching t-shirts instead.
Recognize fraud sooner. He loves his. So your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Live and Learn. I am your host, Jerry Renaud. We thought it might be kind of fun, since it's December, to do something a little bit different. As part of our program, I'm going to sing some Christmas songs for you, some of them that I've written and some of them that are just real traditional. So I hope you enjoy it. The first one is sort of a little melancholy song. I lost my brother a couple of months ago and had to give the eulogy at his funeral, and so I started thinking about him and his life and my life and how it all intertwined, and this is what I came up with. Come home for Christmas, it's been a while. I know it's a long way and the journey is tough, but the road we're on is getting shorter. Time we spent together seems to fade away. It's been so long. Snow on the ground and a chill in the air. Kids are all grown, families of their own. I know it's not like it used to be. never stopping to see. Tempers flaring and no one caring, it's just about me. People staring, no one daring to see what Christmas should be. Come home for Christmas before it's too late. All of us together again, telling stories, reminiscing, traditions I still recall. Do you remember? Next couple of songs are going to be a couple of traditional Christmas songs written long, long ago. Kind of a different way of playing them. I hope you enjoy them. God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. In Bethlehem in Israel, this blessed babe was born and laid within a manger upon this blessed morn, to which his mother Mary did nothing take in scorn. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Christmas should be fun, right? So sometimes you gotta have a little fun with some Christmas songs. Here's one that I wrote. I hope you enjoy it. Santa says he's gonna be on time, even with the ice and snow. Santa says he won't be late, but when he's gotta go, he's gotta go. Santa says Rudolph will lead the way, he's the only one who knows. He's been a-working out all year long, 'cause when he's gotta go, he's gotta go. Santa's got a list, he's checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's been naughty and nice. But if you've been naughty, you'll have to pay the price. Santa says do it in the bedroom, it's twice as nice. Santa says you better be ready with the milk and the cookies and a ho-ho-ho. Santa says he won't be late, but when he's gotta go, he's gotta go. Kids are all fed, they're off to bed with visions of sugar plums in their heads. But if you can't sleep, head for the mistletoe. Santa says he can help. Uh-oh, well, Santa says he won't be late, even with the ice and snow. Santa says he's gonna be on time, 'cause when he's gotta go, he's gotta go. Christmas is also a time that you like to think about the people that you want to be around. This is a song I wrote for my wife last year. She's the one I want to be around. All I want for Christmas from you is a smile. It's all I need, and I know it'll last me a while. Baby, when things get tough and it seems like I've had enough, I know you're the one you all for listening. I hope you have a fabulous Christmas. Stay safe, stay healthy, and remember, it's never too late to live and learn.